As I said, last time we looked at styles, so how we can change styles, and you all saw how useful that can be, and especially in regards to creating a table of contents. You also saw that if you make changes to your titles and headings, you can update your table of contents very easily as well. So that'll save you some time for those of you that have to write papers that have table of contents. It'll actually automatically put what pages on and things like that too. So we saw how to make changes in a header and footer. We saw how to make changes to a theme, which will affect the colors, which will affect the fonts and the style in which things are written. I showed you also where this is where in the page, sorry, not page layout, in the layout tab, you also can change the watermark, the color, and the border of your pages from here as well. We saw header and footers and how to automatically include details from the file, specific ones like file name, page numbers, and we saw that there are a ton of different functions that you can actually embed within that, which you can get more into in more advanced Microsoft Word classes or just by looking them up. But traditionally, people only want to know like what's the document title, the file name, the page number, or a date timestamp. So, and then we also looked at inserting pictures in the simplest way. When we left off, we were talking about how you could change from the position of that from inline with the text to square is what the one that I told you is most commonly used and works best for people. We saw how you could arrange objects to have some things in front or behind. Um, and then we also saw where spelling and grammar check was, which many of you already knew about. So I was gonna we looked at the formatting of text as well. I'm just gonna show you a couple of more things with that today. We'll also look at lists and different types of lists. And again, this whole point of this is like just things that you could use in a flyer. They're not things you're gonna have to use within your flyer, but just think about flyers you've seen. Sometimes you'll see a list and you'll see different bullet points. Sometimes you may see stars or maybe you'll see some kind of image. How did they get those in there? So we'll take a look at that. And then types of breaks that you may have, which won't be as useful for you right now. Possibly, it could though. Um, we're just gonna look at a couple of those. Um, so yeah, other than that, charts, more so pictures as I already said. We've already covered these for the most part. We're just gonna look at a couple of things. And then hyperlinks. That's probably one of the biggest things for people when it comes to making a flyer. How do you add a hyperlink to things? Uh, okay, and we already saw page layout. So without further ado, if there aren't any general questions at the moment, we can get straight into Word to taking a look at what it looks like exactly. So I am going to bring up my guy here and pass the ball over to Miss Amber Arnold. You are now the presenter. And look, you're already on it. You already got your screen shared. Perfect. All right. So last time we inserted some pictures and we looked at text formatting with the style. So I'm gonna start off by if you could just type in some random stuff. It can literally just be typing, smashing letters, smashing the keyboard randomly at times, or you can type something. Types of games. Cool. All right. So here she has types of games here. So she has some text here. So let's just look at different ways you can change it. So on the Home tab in the font group, we have, yes, so we have different font styles that we can select. So Calibri is the one that's automatically there for when you're typing within a body. Calibri pretty much takes over the entire page, but it'll look slightly different depending on if you're in your title or your heading. Times New Roman was very popular for most people. Georgia is another popular one, more so now. And Ariel is another popular one. But as you can see, there are tons. And if you want to just scroll up and down that real quick, just so people can see, there are tons of different ones. And a lot of them are still kind of the same with just slight variations. Like there's an Ariel Black and Ariel Thick and all this stuff like that. So there's a Georgia Pro Light. So Yeah, there's tons of them. And there's more that you can download. If any of you have ever played the game Zelda, you could, if you type in font style Zelda Microsoft Word, I'm sure that um, you can find the actual, so like someone created created the font style for that based off how it looks in the Zelda games, and you can download that and add it to your Word, and then you can type, and it'll be in the same style. Now, if someone else doesn't have that, they won't see it like that, and it'll change to something else. But yeah, that's all there. So, all right. So that's one thing we can change that. So, two, let's this time, let's if you would double click on the insertion point there, where you have type of games, just double click on that. So I want you to notice that when you double click, how it, or sorry, actually, that should be actually from a triple. Double click on the word games. Okay. All right. So yeah, when you it actually should be when you double click, you only should get like that line, but I guess it's because we have multiple things here. But if you, yeah, there it is. So when you double click, you get just that one word. When you triple click, you should get the entire thing. So it should take over the whole paragraph. There it is. Yep. So that's a faster way of selecting things. And when you do so, notice how she gets a mini toolbar that has the font, has most of the commands for fonts, and other changes that you may make. Notice styles is there as well. So something else you can do, so you can click any of the white space. If you go to the left of your paragraph here, all the way to the left of it, so you get a white arrow, okay? And let's go onto the page, but just to the left of it, so we still have that white arrow. Yeah, cool. If you click there, it will automatically select that line that you're on. And if you were to double click from in that section, it'll select that whole paragraph. Those are other things that will make things a little faster for you. Okay, so with this selected, let's change the size of it. So let's just select some of it and let's see how we can change the size. And so we can do this from the font group or from the mini toolbar as she's doing. Notice how you have some sizes set within here. You can type any number you want within that, as long as your word can handle up to that number. So like notice 13 is not there. If you want it, or 15 is not there. If you want to type 15 in, that's fine. It still works, even though it's not one of the options you see listed there. If you want to type 144 in, it works even though it's not listed there. Okay. So yeah, you can undo that by just Control Z if you want, or yeah, that works too. All right. So some other things you can do. Let's select that again. So right next to the font size, you see an A with the arrow up and down. That's also how you can increase and decrease your font sizes. And so that way it'll automatically go up those steps. So you don't have to worry about typing in a number and going back typing another number. I use that a lot because it has a quick keyboard shortcut that makes a lot of sense to me. Control Shift and then the greater than sign, Control Shift and the less than sign. That just kind of makes sense to me. It's like, oh, I'm increasing it, I'm gonna go greater than. Oh, I'm decreasing, I'm gonna go less than. Okay. Actually, can you hover over one of those so we can see the screen tip? So anytime you hover over something, you get a screen tip, and many of them will show you that. So notice how I was talking about those the keyboard shortcut was Control Shift, the greater than sign and less than signs. That's how you can know if there is a shortcut. And if it's something you use a lot, that'll be very helpful to you, right? That way you don't have to keep going to select the command. And you can even create your own commands if you want to for things that you do often, and have them be on the home tab. You can tell it what tab to go to. That's actually very powerful too. And you know what? I'm gonna actually show you how you can do that after we look at some more of these. So notice how she's hovering over those bold, italics, underline, and things like that. In the font color and in the highlight color. Can you hover over the highlight color for me, actually? Okay, cool. So a lot of times when people are trying to change the font color, they make a mistake. They'll select the highlight color when they want to do font color, or they'll select font color when they want to do the highlight color. So just differentiate between those. Notice how it's a highlighter, like the icon is literally a highlighter For the font color, which is just to the right of that, you have the letter A, and then underneath it you have a color. Okay. Something else to note with that, can you click the drop down on, say, the font color? Notice that it has theme colors. That's because the current theme that's selected has a certain patterns that it follows. So because of that, it has set colors already in here. But also notice that each one of these colors, it kind of tends to fade away and like be a lot lighter and then go to darker and within a column. But at the top of those columns, it has a set color already set in there. And so if you ever have anyone say, I want blue accent 1, lighter 25%, don't just say, okay, I'll just pick that. You want to actually hover over these and see. So yeah, so yeah, go to the top one. It should be like, yeah, that one. Yeah, so that's 80, and then it goes 80, 60, 40, and then it goes like 25, I think, for darker. And then what's the last one there? The bottom of that column, yeah. 50. Okay. So you have your lighter and your darkers, and you have those percentages. So you can always figure out which one it is by just hovering over it and looking at the screen tip. Another thing is that notice the automatic up there is black. If you select black, that's not the same as automatic. They will be the same color, but the way that the computer sees it is different. Once it sees it, if you actually select black, it sees it as being black. If you see it as automatic, if there are other changes that happen, say like if this is going on black paper, it's going to print out white automatic, and things like that. So that's why that automatic is different from just being set black. I don't think anyone in this course would ever have automatic be different than black. However, I have seen it happen before. So I want you to know that there is a difference between those two things. And that's also important for when especially when we get into like Excel. A lot of times people will change the color to like for say the background color. They'll say, "Oh, I want the fill color to be, I want it to be white like it's supposed to be off the bat. I accidentally changed the color." They'll go and select white. White is not the same as having the automatic or the reset or the no fill. It's not the same at all, and it's much more evident in Excel. Because if you select white, the entire thing becomes white. So even if you have things typed in there, you can't see necessarily. So it is completely different. So that's why it's important to denote the difference between automatic and actually selecting a color. So those are theme colors. So again, those would change by the theme. At the bottom there, though, you see standard colors. These are ones you're preset in. So like they'll actually say like red, dark red, and yellow, orange, and things like that. So these are colors that you're more used to and you're used to seeing named. So they are preset there. You don't have to click on more colors, but more colors has a ton of colors in there. You can change you can change it to be in hexadecimal or to be RGB values. So yeah, so you can see you have that whole color wheel there. You can select anything you want from that. Okay, so let's see what else I want to show you with this. Gradient. I'm just going to tell you what gradient is. So gradient is, notice how those theme colors go from a light to darker. That's what a gradient does. And so sometimes, like if you have a selection of words, what you can do is you can set a gradient, and what it will do is it'll go from lighter to darker. It'll go from lighter to that darker part. I tend to never use that within actual typing here. If I'm using stuff with pictures, maybe I would. Or if I'm doing something with graphs, I do that too, because sometimes it's easier to see and it gives it a cooler effect. It grabs the eye more. So yeah, notice how she had selected a different color and it shows up now in recent colors. That's a very powerful tool. In fact, in PowerPoint, you can see in there, if you ever try to change the colors in PowerPoint, you can have like an image of some kind. Let's say you have a picture that has a really cool color in it, but you're not sure what the color is. Well, within PowerPoint, what you can do is you can bring it up and then select that image, and you can actually use the recent color thing. And there's like it looks like a dropper, like where you like suck up water and then you like press the little bulb on the end and it like drops in drops of whatever the liquid is inside of it. There's an icon that looks like that within when you're changing the colors. And it's really cool because you can actually go and select a pixel, and it'll actually figure out what that color is, and then it'll save it to your recent colors so that you can use it throughout the other applications. So I always thought that was really cool because sometimes people, I see this a lot, especially when people are designing stuff. They'll like go out, oh, I saw this nice pretty color and I want to use this in my project, but I can't figure out what it is and I can't find anything exactly like it. That's fine. Just go take the actual thing um, and I don't want to, I almost said steal it because you're not really stealing it. You're just seeing what that color is and then you're using it. So uh, I think that's enough with or almost everything we want to do with the fonts. So go up to the actual font group on the actual ribbon. So not the mini toolbar. No, no. Up towards the top. So right underneath, we're at the home tab. Yeah. So in the font group here. So that this whole area with all these different commands is the font group. Um, to the bottom right of this grouping, you'll see a arrow that's pointing diagonally downward. Yeah. If you click that, that will launch a dialog box. In this case, it'll launch the font dialog box, which will give you opportunity to make all these different changes. So the font style you guys are used to, the font you're used to, the size you're used to, the font color, yeah, you're probably used to. Underline style you might not be used to, but you can completely understand what that is. Some of these other things, though, these other effects, they're probably a lot different for many of y'all. So, for instance, small caps. There are some fonts that automatically will put things in all caps. What small caps will allow you to do is it'll differentiate what's the beginning of the word, so it'll have it as a larger cap. So another thing hidden. What happened? Nothing. There is an effect there though, so and actually the word could would literally like almost disappear. It's still there though. Strike throughs people are used to, and that's a very important thing, especially within business. Usually, when people have a list of items, they don't want to delete it when they say, "Oh, it's done," or "We're no longer using it." They use a strike through because it keeps better record, saying that this was here, but we decided to not do it anymore. So that's a important thing to know exists. Double strike through is pretty obvious what that is. Superscript and subscript can be very handy, especially if you are taking a scientific class or, well, yeah, I'll just say a scientific class because math is a science, even though some people say it's not. So that can be very helpful to you. Subscript makes it, smaller, makes it a subscript. Superscript makes it like an exponent would look. So there are other things too. If you look at text effects, so you could add in some fills and outlines. You can close it now. I just wanted to show that it's there. So if you make large text words, you could use text effects to change the color fills and outlines of those. If you can click on it on the advanced tab at the top here. Okay. This is where you get into your spacing between your characters. Now, most people would never ever change this. I've only seen this change like one time that I can think of, honestly. Um, So another thing, like the things you just changed the positioning, most people don't realize that you have, you can think of when you type, if it actually being kind of a cell of a table. So you have a bottom to that, you have a middle to that, and then you have a top to that. In Excel, it's much easier to see because they actually have those alignments as options for you to change. Because you all are familiar with left, middle, and right alignment, but you may not be familiar with the fact that you have top, middle, and bottom alignment. That's how you can change that if you ever wanted to. Again, it's not usually used a lot within Word, but just imagine if you saw a word seemingly decline or had some kind of pattern to them, it might catch the eye more. So that's why I'm telling you about it because you all are making flyers. So sweet. Okay, so that's everything that I wanted to discuss within font. Unless anyone has any questions about other font changes.
Do we have to have a font change?
You have to have a change in style. That's the requirement in the rubric. Font change, anything besides that, no. But I always suggest with any of these assignments that you do the minimum, so to speak, to where you're satisfied, and then play with it because you already have a copy saved of which you're going to actually turn in possibly. But see if how you can improve it. So these might be things that you may want to do. Like you could change the style change could actually be, I would allow, if you made significant font changes, I would allow that to be a style change. Okay. Which is part of your requirement.
Picky about like the font, be like any style font.
Can you say that one more time?
Can it be like any style font? You're not like really picky on what the font style is?
Nope, I am not. As long as it's the only pickiness would be, is it legible? And that would probably be more so feedback to you within your assignment, like, hey, I can't read this at all. Yeah. So for instance, if you are a gamer, like I know someone is, and they like games and they want to maybe design games, maybe they would have a flyer for a new game they're coming up with. Maybe they would go download that Zelda font, but every computer doesn't have that. So they will probably want to find something else that would be more useful. So you have to think about that stuff too. If you use a different type of font, is another computer going to have that available? So it'll be best to use the things that are pre-built within Word, not anything that you would download offline.
Do you want us to still have a table of contents?
Comments, yes. I still want, so yeah, because that type of stuff will be described in the comments. So let's say you said, oh, I found this really cool font online, but because I had to download it, I knew I couldn't use it in the submission. But here it is. Like, you could tell me about that in the comments. Yeah.
Oh no, I said table of content.
Oh, table of contents.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, you do not have to have a table of contents on your flyer. Yeah. That was one of the table of contents, one of those things that we were required to teach you all. I didn't really see a point at this time in which to add it. You can add a table of contents to a portfolio if you wanted to. But I didn't have an assignment to go with that. But I have seen people add it into this with their different headings that they use in it. So that's definitely available to you. That was actually when that happened, that was the one time someone turned this assignment in and they were able to justify why they had 2 pages. I suggest you never have 2 pages for a flyer, but they justified it because their first page was a complete table of contents, and then it would link to the other page to certain parts. So that's why they had it, and they justified that. So it was really cool. But okay. All right. Well, I was gonna go to paragraph next, which looks like Amber already went to and has already centered our work, which is great. So I think you all are familiar with left justified, center, and right, and justify. Yeah, I think I said justified already. Yeah. Yep. So just so you know, center. If you hover over that, I believe it's Control E. Can you hover over center? Yeah, so center is Control E. That's a popular one. Yeah, left is Control L. I think right is Control R. Yeah, and then justify is Control J. But Control E for center, that's a very common thing used. So that's a shortcut key you may want to remember. Because most people either have things left aligned or they center it. The other two aren't used as much. Does anyone know what justify really is? Okay. So what Justify does, it's a great album by Justin Timberlake. No, I'm just kidding. But Justify, what it does is it evenly distributes your text across your margins. So let's say you tell it that you have see 8, so that's 6 inches. You have 6 inches across. It will spread that out across that, and so everything will be evenly distributed all the way down across your line. So that's what Justify does. So some people think that Justify is the same as center. It is not, and it can actually look pretty disturbing sometimes. Like some of your words will be the letters will be further apart than in others. So sometimes it can be kind of a hard read. So before you ever use Justify, you want to make sure it looks exactly what you want it to look like. So yeah. Okay. So other things, oops, losing power. So other things, within the paragraph group, the major thing I want to talk about is, yes, the list. That's your right spot. So a list. So she has types of games there. Maybe, oh, okay, I was gonna say maybe you'll underneath that you'll add in some lists of some types of the games. Just a couple of things. Maybe like 2 or 3 or 5. Zelda. Kingdom Hearts, that's a good one. Square Enix and Disney. Overwatch, that's a popular thing. I've heard of that. Never played it though. Okay, so we got 3 games here. And if you just click on the bullet list, you automatically get bullet lists. Now, there are 2 types of lists. Oh, sorry, before you go there are 2 types of lists. We have unordered lists and we have ordered lists. Both options are available to you. The bulleted list is for unordered lists. That means you don't care what order the things appear. The one next to it is for ordered lists. And that's why it is ordered some way with 1, 2, 3. It could be in Roman numerals, could be ABC, so on and so forth. Let's go back to the bulleted list, if you would, please. Yes. And let's click the drop down on there. So notice that there are lots of things built in, no, not lots, but there are a few options built into the bullet library here. So you have that, closed circle. That's the one most people are used to. The open one, the square, some weird shape. I have no idea what that is. The diamond with the diamonds within it. I literally have no idea what it is. The arrow is another common one, and the checkbox is another common one too. But usually people use those, the closed circle or the arrow, the checkbox, or the square or the diamond one. But within using your unordered list, at the bottom there it says define new bullet. That guy. So, have any of you ever wanted to be a bullet? I know I have. I know a lot of people that have. Why not take a picture of yourself and it becomes the new bullet? That's right. You can select any picture that you want. So if you have a picture of yourself or of something like maybe that goes along with the event, you can take a picture of it and then add it into here, and it will be a new bullet that you could use directly on it. So like you have the games there. Maybe if you were looking at, say, like a flyer for EA Sports, maybe you would, look at you go. Yeah. You would, you can pick something from the file, or you can even use Bing to search for a Creative Commons one if you want. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts. Yeah. Maybe you'd like have a list of characters or whatever. So yeah, there you go. Or the different Kingdom Hearts games. Well, now it becomes a bullet for it. Yep. So that's kind of cool. I always thought it was kind of cool. So yeah, so that can be something to spice up your flyers. Let's look at the ordered list. Look at the drop down there. Yeah. So, like I said, we have the Roman numerals, and then we have the ABCs. There is a new number format and a set numbering value at the bottom there. You don't have to actually click on it, but those are important, especially the set numbering value, because here sometimes you may not have it start at the number 1. Maybe you had a list above that went 1 through 6, and then now you have added some things in between there, and you want to restart your guy again at 7. Well, this is how you would do that. You would set your numbering value. So it will start at 7. Okay. All right. Can you click on the list that's next to the list you're currently on? So this is more of looking at it as an outline kind of format. It's still an ordered list. And I honestly have no idea why this command was created, because you can do these things already. And I'll show you how right now. So let's go to where you have your second option here. Okay. Number 2. We have number 2 Kingdom Hearts. Let's go to, so let's put the insertion point, exactly there, right in front of the K. Perfect. I want you to press tab. Okay. All right, cool. So that's kind of strange. Go back, hit back for me, backspace. Hit backspace one more time. And then one more time. Okay, good. Hit enter and hit tab. That's weird. Yours doesn't automatically do that. Okay, so some of you, when you press it, it'll automatically indent the entire thing inward. If that doesn't happen, that's okay. There is a command to do that for you. So if you go back up to the paragraph group, so right after that one, you look to the right. Yep, there we go. So that's called increase indentation, and you have the other one is decrease indentation. So take it back. So that way you can get different levels within it. So the cool thing about this is that if you can do it from your keyboard, all it is a tab to move it inward and a shift tab to move it back out. So that's a really cool feature as well, and it's very important, and it makes doing lists and like typing outlines so much quicker. Okay, so I want to go to the right of those commands and to the one that's the paragraph symbol. One more, yep, that one. This is called the show hide command, and this is my favorite command to use. I have it on all the time automatically. So if you click on that, what show hide command does is it literally shows you all those little idiosyncrasies that you don't even realize are going on there, right? Like when you press enter and you're saying I'm ending this paragraph and starting a new one, there's an actual symbol there to tell the computer that, hey, this is a new paragraph. When you press spacebar, there's a symbol there so that it knows to put space in between it. Yeah, see, look at that. There's a little dots, and you'll notice in between your words, you'll see those dots too. Those dots are all space bars. Now, even with the show hide command active, if you print this out, it'll print out normal. It won't show these hidden characters. These hidden characters are here though, so that you can see what's going on. There are so many times that people insert breaks, page breaks. Actually, can you go to where you have Kingdom Hearts? Yeah, and let's actually go to insert tab, excuse me. And we're in the pages group, which is the first group. Can you select page break? Okay, cool. All right, so scroll up. There's a page break right there, right? You can see that with show hide. Go down to where you have number 3, so where you have Overwatch. Press backspace. Okay. Keep pressing it. All right. Look how much look how much she went through to do that. There are times where you're doing a page break and people keep hitting backspace and they won't actually even move because there's so much in between the page break. And people don't realize what's going on. Like, I don't understand. Why is it not going back? Because of breaks there. If you put the show hide on, it'll automatically will backspace towards that because it sees it, the character is it knows that you know the character of page break is there. If you didn't have it showed, that's another way that you can if you see like issues when you're trying to do backspace or you're trying to move something forward and you like something's in the way, I don't know what it is, use the show hide command to show so you can see what's going on with it. Okay. That's why I honestly always have it on until like if I want to see how it's gonna look when I print it out, then I'll turn it off because otherwise it'll start messing with my eyes. But yeah. Okay. Can you go back to the home tab? Cool. And I believe I have hit everything within this part. We're going to look at breaks next. Any questions about what the font group or the paragraph group at this time, or the styles group, since we talked about that on Monday?
I have a question, like the number of bullet points. So like when I try to put like a bullet point that's numbered, like the 1, 2, 3, 4 that we see on the screen, and like I try to press enter so that like for example, if it's a question and I press enter, how do I get it to not do the second number so that I can just write like the answer to the question? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so. So let's see what the example here. So oh, like what she just did there, where the 4 disappeared. Like that. Okay, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Yes. So a couple of things. So Amber, if you could demonstrate what you just did again. Okay. So you could either hit backspace and it usually will go away, or you could go up to, let's see, go up to where you have the unnumbered list and click on that. Mhm. it actually should. I wonder if it will work if you just actually deselect it. But just try hitting none. There you go. Cool. But yeah, you should be able to just click and click on that command automatically, and it should go back and it undo itself too. So there's a couple of ways for you. So yeah, if you just backspace it, they'll do that. Shift enter works sometimes well, it works for me. I've been having trouble with that recently. Well, before this week because I haven't been able to actually use Word at all this week. But before this week, shift enter, I would use that sometimes as well. Can add a return key into it. But yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let us go to the layout tab. So in the layout tab here in the page setup group, we have a couple of things here. We have, this is where our margins are. Yeah, you can click on that if you want. So it's set to normal right now, which is one inch on all your sides. Most people use most people use narrow. You can customize it as well to whatever you want. When I was a kid, I used to get the synopsis on Dragon Ball Z arcs because I could read them because we didn't have I couldn't watch Dragon Ball Z. Cartoon Network wasn't on basic cable back then. So I used to go online at school, and I would want to do that, but you had to pay for how much you printed out. So what I would do is I would go and change the margins all to zeros. Um, Actually, would you mind doing that right now, Amber? Go to margins, go to custom margins, and let's change all these bad boys to 0. And you can just click OK. And right there, it says some margins are outside the printable area. Try moving these margins inside the printable area. So this comes up because if you put 0 margin, then it tries to print directly at the very beginning of that line. That's not a safe spot. So and there's other things that you could possibly want to have in there as well. So at this point, I would usually click fix, and it would put the minimum amount that it could on each side, which is actually lower than it used to be. And actually used to be able to do 0 at the top and bottom, and it would be like 0.56 on one side and like 0.75 on the other. It was really weird, but it looks like they've kind of evened it out a little more all across. But yeah, and so that way I would have a lot more space, and I could print out more things that I wanted and still be able to read it without having to make the font like super small. So yeah, so that's one thing that you can do with the margins. It's very helpful. Gives you a lot more space to work with, or will give you less space if you want to as well. There's other things you can do with the margin, which we'll look at in a moment. But let's go to orientation. This will take like 2 seconds because everyone's usually familiar with portrait versus landscape. Right? And yeah, and as you saw, you get a little preview of what that would look like. The next thing, which many people don't know, another thing people don't know about, is your size. You can literally dictate the size of the paper that things are going to be printed on. Well, how is this helpful to you? Well, you can actually denote what the size of the paper is going to be if you want. If you click on more sizes, you can set the width and height of it. Well, why does that matter? There's a ton of things listed in there. Have any of you all ever had a math exam or some type of science exam where you get a note card to use and they tell you it has to be a 4x6 and print on one side? And how many of you would sit there and try to write super, super, super small so that you can still read it, and then, oh, it smudged during your test? Well, I never did that because what I did was I would use Word, type up my notes or whatever it is that I wanted to go on there, change the size here to be, 4x6 card, and then I was good to go. So that way I could have in here everything that I knew I needed to be in. Okay, so that's just a basic example of using your sizes and how cool it is to use it. let's see. Okay, let's look at the columns. Some of you may use a column within your flyer. So your columns, pretty simple. You change it between 1, 2, and 3 columns. You can actually go more than that if you want. And all it does is, oh, you can't see it right now. So let's go to View. Go to View. And in the Show group, click on Ruler. Okay, now let's go back to the Layout tab. I usually always have the ruler showing. And the reason is up at the top, look at, yeah. See how it actually splits it up? Now it's showing you where those columns would be. Now, yeah, so you can increase as many columns as you want. So I used to do this with my list of Pokemon, so I can know where they were, where to catch them. I would use columns to do so. And I would increase the columns so once again I could fit much more information on one page. So yeah. You can change it from even being equal width if you want to. Yeah. I love how much you're getting into this. Yeah, you could change the widths of them if you want to, so you could have more space in one than the other. Yep. All right, cool. So let's see. Let's go to breaks. So the page break is the most basic one that people are aware of. It will mark the end of a page and the beginning of a new one. Next page will next page will so looking at section breaks. Next page will make you start automatically at the next page after that. This is known as a section break. The point of a section break is so that people understand where the end of a section of the paper is. Notice there's also an even and odd one, which is for most people, they're like, why would you ever have a section break so they would jump over another page? Well, you may use that other page for something else, right? Like maybe, for instance, if you were to print a Bible, you may want to have the first page be the actual verses. The other one would be a section for notes. And it's like, okay, well, they could just insert a blank page there. Well, this will automatically do that for you. 1, 2, you could actually have it sectioned off so that maybe you start off at notes page by saying, this is for your notes or some kind of quote or whatever you want. So that's how you can use that. Also, a question and answer key. That's another way that's used commonly for my classes that I have. I have a question, and then after that, we have to write the solution. So I try to do that, and then maybe have an appendix as well with images. So I'll put all my information on like the odd pages, and I'll put pictures and other source material and things like that on the even pages. So that way, when people are flipping through, they don't have it all mixed up together. They can open it and like refer like, oh, okay. Especially when they go to reading mode within Word. So other things, breaks, text wrapping. I honestly have never really used it in that format of just wrapping around any objects. The only time I've ever had to use actual text wrapping is when I've inserted an image. That's me. I'm sure someone out there has used it. Column though, which Amber has already inserted a column break. Column break is very helpful. So as you can see, you can insert a column break which says, hey, in the column here, start the next column afterwards. So what's cool about that is a lot of times people want things to appear even, and the way columns work, when you like select your data, or when you select your lines and say, hey, create this many columns, it'll just do it. It'll just split it up. Well, maybe you want it to start off like, maybe you want Zelda in this case on his own, and you want the rest of it to be on the other column. You can tell it to do so. Maybe it'll split it up and it's not evenly split. That's happened to me. You have 50 things and all of a sudden you have 21 in one, and then you have 29 in the other. It's gonna look weird, right? Like, why did Word do that? Why did it split it that way? I don't know, but it did. Well, I can correct that. I'll put in a column break instead. So that's probably the most helpful thing to me, at least. The column break is the most helpful out of all those breaks. That and page break, of course, but yeah. Okay. So questions there? All right. So in the paragraph group here, could you click on the dialog box button, the button in the bottom right corner that launches the dialog box? Looks like the arrow going out. Yeah, that one. So we'll look a little bit more at this next week. But this is also where you can make some changes to your paragraphs. There is a line and spacing one that's on the home tab, but I generally just go straight to the paragraph dialog box. This allows you to change how things begin, indentions, and also the spacing in between lines. So a lot of times there's been this newer feature over the last decade or so in spacing. Yeah. So she's showing you all how it's changing the indentation as you increase that and decrease that. Yeah. So, oh, cool. And we'll look at first and hanging and all that and more in detail next week. But the spacing one here, a lot of times when people type information in, there's this new thing where it will automatically add space before and after. That way it's easier for things to be read. So it makes sense. But there are a lot of times you're like, I didn't want to add space after I hit enter. Why is it adding extra space? Like there's all this room in between things. So you can make changes to this so that that doesn't occur. Yeah. And so let's see. Right, and there's a checkbox there. You gotta see don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. That's usually not even checked. When I open mine up, at least it's always unchecked, and I have to tell it to be if I want it to be. It always automatically adds spacing before and after. Even if I change it and set as a default, it still does it. All right, so that's it with this that I want to show y'all. We'll go a lot more in detail with that because we'll be using the ruler to add first line indents and hanging indents, changing right indentions, and we'll also be adding tab stops. So we'll be looking at that more next week as well. So, all right, let's go to a different area. We already looked at arranging things before. So let's go to the insert tab. All right, and so on the insert tab, we saw how to insert a image. So if you would, could you go to pictures in the illustrations group and maybe find something online that's Creative Commons, something of your choice. Cool. Right. So yep. The first thing she knows how she changed the size of it by using the size handlers on the corners. Good. And notice too that with the picture selected, there are two tabs that are in blue on her screen up at the top. These two tabs are known as contextual tabs. This means that they appear based on the context of what you are doing. So in this case, we're dealing with a picture, so these tabs appear. And we can then do things to this picture. The first thing I generally do is notice to the right, top right of the picture, there's a icon for changing the position or wrap text, I guess I technically should say. This is what we were talking about last time. So there was inline with text, which I say don't, I rarely ever use. Square is what I use, which is the first one underneath with text wrapping. Yeah. And so I would click that. And so what this does is allows you to then move it around. So if you just click on the image and then start moving it, you're able to move it a lot more freely. That's why I actually use that. Okay. So let's go back up to that shape format tab. All right. So we can change some things within the shape format. We can insert other shapes if we want to. Oh, we can insert other shapes if we want to, and these can become text boxes as well if they have the room. Most of them automatically start off as a text box as long as you double click within it. If you want to do that, however, you can just click on one of the basic shapes. Right, and then yep, add it in. And if you double click on it, within it. Yeah. It should let you begin typing as soon as you double click within it. But I don't see the searching point happening. Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't have to actually insert a text box on top of it. It should just like allow you to start typing once you double click within. Once they change some stuff, which I'm starting to notice that they changed a lot. Your ribbon actually looks different than mine, and you have a Windows computer, so um, I'm assuming it had some kind of update recently. But yeah, so what you can do though is you can begin typing in those. And there it is. What did you have to do in order to allow you to start typing? You can. Okay, edit text. So she had to right click edit text, and then she could actually begin typing in there. All right, cool. So sweet. Let's go back to shape format. Or actually select your picture and let's go back to shape format. Okay, cool. So some other things that you can do here, if your theme needs to, say you have an electronic flyer you're making, where it says accessibility, you see alt text. Most of the things you get from Creative Commons will automatically have some, but it's always recommended that you type your own. And what this is you are pretty much describing it so that if someone had like a screen reader, it would tell them what the description is. So you could be like Zelda, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what this actually is. It looks like his little sword, not Triforce sword or whatever it was called. But, Master Sword. All right, cool. So yeah, so now that's there. So if anyone was using the screen reader, it would read types of games: 1, Zelda; 2, Kingdom Hearts; 3, Overwatch; image, Master Sword. So kind of cool. All right. Yeah, and as you all see, there's some other things you do. You can change the color of shapes, add some shape effects and outlines and different shape styles. You can change word styles if you have big text words or word art. We already looked at arranging, we looked at position, we looked at wrap text. So let's look at picture format now. This is one of my some of the cooler effects. So I like to look at the adjust group. If you go to artistic effects, so all you Snapchatters, people that like Snap, look at all the fun you can have with this. Give it some old school filters, not filters, but you know what I mean. Make it more pixelized if you want to. I usually like to use the pencil shavings or pencil drawing one. I don't know why. That's just me. Um, but yeah, all kinds of different ones. And there's others as well that you can download offline if you ever want to find some other cool options to use. But yeah, so this is how you can edit. This is one of the ways you can edit some of these pictures. You can also change the transparency of it, so how much it's see through. Um, and you can change the color scheme on it as well. Be very careful if you do so. I'm not I'm not into like Photoshop and things like that, so I'm not really sure what all of these things are or what they would do automatically from just if I see the name of it. So I always just play around with it. Okay. So some other things you can change are your picture styles. So if you click the more arrow right there, yep. So as you can see, we get different kind of frames around it. These can be very helpful, especially when you combine it with a border and an effect, because you can make things look kind of three-dimensional with a bevel and some other things as well. So if you click on picture effects, so depending on the style you have, you may have some different effects that come along with it. Bevel's a cool one that many people like to use. Oh, she can add a glow. Excellent. Cool. All right, so that was pretty much it. There's only one other thing left that I want to talk about, and it is adding a hyperlink. Now, I have a question for you all, and I want to hear some answers. Maybe I'll see some in the chat. Let me see some responses there. Oh, I didn't realize people have actually been talking in the chat. I apologize. Channel 61 had Dragon Ball. Oh, I think EA would make you pay to use their font. Yes, they probably would. So my favorite question to ask people is, what is a hyperlink? I want to see what you all think a hyperlink is. Or you can unmute yourself if you want to explain it, or you can write it in the chat. What's a hyperlink? And yes, it was in the Canvas, so hopefully I want to see what people actually know what a hyperlink is. Don't just go look at it on Canvas. A link that connects to an address on the internet. A web address that takes you to the website when you click it. Right? Does anyone have a link you can put into a word that takes you to another site, to part of the site, or to part of the site? Okay. So is there anyone? So does everyone agree with that? That it has to do with linking something to something on the internet? Oh, Michaela came with a steal right before that. A link that takes you to another site or file. So we'll talk more about what the internet is, and what a web page is and how it actually works. But what it is really just a folder of files. So when you go to a website, it's just that website is here. It has this folder with this name, and in it are these files. And so when you click or do certain things, those files will come up. That's all it is. So when you see hyperlinks that link to things on the web, they're really just linking to files. Well, you have files on your computer. Yes, you can create a hyperlink to link directly to those files. Someone else put in the chat, you can also have PDFs or JPEGs. That's right. So because those are all files. So what a hyperlink does is it links an object. I'm going to say word because usually we do words. But you could do it on an image as well if you want, or on any shape. But it links some type of object to another file. Okay, it always links an object to a file, not just to a website. And it can link it to its own file, and it can even link it to certain sections within a file, depending on how you have it set up. So let's click on or select some kind of object, Amber, that you have here. It doesn't matter what, but select something. And we're going to add a hyperlink on it. If you could, on your keyboard, press Control-K. That opens up the Insert Hyperlink dialog box. And as you can see to the left side, she has three options: existing file or web page, a place in this document, or an email address. All right. So my favorite thing to show people is the place in this document. That way people understand it doesn't have to be directly to another file or to a web page, but it can literally be to something already in that document. And earlier when I was talking about the table of contents, how the student had 2 pages for their flyer, in the table of contents, I said they created links so that it would go down to certain sections of the second page. This is what I'm talking about. So if you use place in this document, so if you click on that, this is why it's very important to have those headers, because then that allows you to be able to target certain places within it. So you don't have any set up right now, which is fine. I never told you to, but this is how you could do that. But most people are used to the existing file or web page, which is fine. So if you click on that existing file or web page, this is where you could select your file directly, or at the bottom where it says address, you could just copy and paste or paste in the address from the web, or type it in yourself. That way, when you click on it, it'll go to it. Right? So one other thing with that, at the top there, it says text to display. This is what would display for that, like when you hovered over it. If you click on screen tip, you can type in some text. So you can say, click here to go to blah blah blah, whatever you want. But where to find the master sword? Right, and click OK. And then if we actually added some type of site or something, what will happen is when you hover over the image, it will actually say that. It will say what you just typed. Okay. So very important to know that hyperlinks are to a file, any type of file, which could include a web page, or to a place within that document. Okay. So that is everything that I wanted to go over for this week. Are there any questions? Before we
Like, if we like accidentally insert another page, and like, how do we remove it? 'Cause I don't know how to do that.
If you accidentally insert another page,
Yeah, like another page underneath what I'm working on.
yeah. So if you insert like a blank page or a page break, kind of like what Amber just did here, you can hit backspace and it should actually get rid of it. If that does not work, if you go to the Home tab, and go to that Show Hide command that I mentioned before, you should be able to see if there's some break or some other something else that's underlining. Yes. Sometimes like another paragraph on another page that people don't realize is there, and you have to actually delete that paragraph marker. Sometimes it's like a space. You don't realize it's there either. So that's what you would do in order to get rid of it. Okay.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Right. And some other things you might changing those font size or something too, or the margins. That could help get rid of the other page. The other page is there for a reason. You inserted it as a blank page or a page break, which then you just have to delete that insertion, or like how Amber just showed, or it's there because the stuff above is too large. Sometimes we press enter to move things down. Really, appropriate thing you should do is increase spacing between those lines, not just press enter, because pressing enter is paragraphs. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Other questions? Okay. Well, Amber, ooh, that looks pretty. Yeah. I'm gonna take back power. I appreciate you volunteering, and you did a great job. Thanks, Jacqueline. You did too last time, so you guys are doing great. Take the power back. Here we go. And I'm gonna share my thing with you all again. So again, what is your flyer? And so for this assignment, you are creating a flyer for a business of your choice. Could be some school event or for some school course that you enjoy, you want to promote for other people. Campus event could be an event for in your own life, birthday party or something coming up. However you want to do it. Just a flyer though. Something goal is to make it that it'll meet certain purposes that you've set out, and provide information and pique interest. So should include at least one picture, fit on one page. You should use formatted text. There should be informative text about the flyer's purpose on there in some kind of way. If you don't have any, you better justify why there's not any. No spelling and grammatical errors, so make sure before you submit it, you actually check that. And you check it using the spelling and grammar check. Yes, go ahead.
When we do informative text, can it be as like a bullet point, kind of like a paragraph?
Yes, it can be a bullet point, paragraph. It could just be the title. In regards to spelling and grammatical errors, if you use spelling and grammar check and something comes back that you say, like, maybe it's like it does word is not recognizing the word, then you could of course add it to your dictionary, so you wouldn't have to have that problem anymore. I don't have your same dictionary though, so if you have a error and it's not really an error, you should tell me that within your comments. That way I know, because when I grade it, it's like, oh, it says misspelled words, misspelled. Okay. There should be color in the text or the background. So I don't want just some black and white flyers, unless you like I said here, unless purposely intentional, which you better justify and tell me why it's there. In your comment section, briefly discuss what your flyer is for and your reasoning for designing it and formatting it the way you did. I don't want to just read the informative text. Don't just copy and paste your informative text. Tell me what you did. Yes, comment on it. Tell me what you say.
How do you put it in a comment?
Oh, how do you put in a comment? So when you submit, which it won't, I can't do it for him, but when you guys hit the submit button and you go to upload your file, there's a section there that says comments. So you can comment on your file there. You can type that stuff in. Okay. Man, I wish I could show you all an example. It won't work from my end. Let's see. Submission, comments, Canvas. See, they are watching. It knew exactly what I just talked about. Hopefully this one has some images for you. Come on. Here. It's crazy, right? What you think you could, yeah, totally could. It's crazy how I just mentioned, like, we're on Canvas and comments. I typed in submission comment and it came up. I don't know why it's so slow. Oh, my internet's really low. It's weird. Nope, that's not what I wanted at all. When you hit the button though, when you choose a file, there's something directly underneath that says comments that allow you to add that in. So hopefully this one will actually have images. Oh, so they're showing how to do it from the app. Okay, that's not what I wanted either. But which I thought that maybe there would be something that comes up here for you all, like some image or something, but I guess not. But yeah, when you do click submit when you choose your file, underneath that there's still be something that says comments. And you can type in there. It comes up here. This is yeah. You'll see assignment comments. There another image here. No. Here you go. This is what yours will look like. Right here. Come on. Come on. Can you see that, Chantel? So you'll click your file that you upload, and then underneath it'll say comments right here.
Okay.
And then that's what you can type in your comments. All right. So yeah, there are ways to do comments within Word directly. If you do that, let me know, because otherwise I won't know to look for it. But yeah, this is the way I want it to be done. So, yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. It's 12:45. Feel free to stay behind, especially if you have any other questions. But yeah, here we go. That's everything. Oh, I did change it. Changed it to text formatting. That's good. From style. I used to say style. So yeah, some type of text formatting change. Cool. Thank you. You guys have a good weekend. Thank you. Thanks, Amber, again.
Bye.
You
Bye.
too.
Have a good weekend,
Thanks.
Professor.
You too. Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, Jacqueline.
Mister,